This is Rob Golfi with REMAX, the Golfi team. Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show with host Stephanie Vivier.
Well, hello, Rob, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And it looks like you're back from holidays. How was your holidays?
You know, it was pretty quiet, Rob. Took a little bit of downtime, had a little bit of family time, but it was good to just kind of rest and reset, which I think is good for this time of year. But really, you know, the New Year's Day hit, and I was just energized and fired up, and hopefully that fire keeps going because we got some cold temperatures out there. So.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You know what? There was one day that I recall through the holidays, right? And all I did was... it was a Sunday after Christmas. I'm pretty sure that was before New Year's. And I was just exhausted. And I woke up and said, I'm going to do absolutely nothing today. And I literally, yes, it was the I can't remember if it was the 28th or the 29th of December.
Nobody knows which day it is, right? Between Christmas and New Year's, you don't know.
So
no idea.
I woke up and I stayed in my pajamas all day.
Oh, I love it.
I didn't even like get in the shower. I just literally I stayed in and I was, watching TV and I was in and out of sleep all day. It was like my body and mind needed it. And friends would call me, "What are you doing?" I'm doing nothing. And I would joke with them. I'd say to them, "Ask me what I love to do." And I said nothing. And I says, "And what do I plan on doing for the rest of the day?" I go, "Nothing." I was just in a nothing state, and I was just enjoying the quiet, and the phone wasn't ringing. It was quiet that day. I wasn't getting calls from agents or clients or anything. And there's maybe one or two that I had to deal with, but very minor little things. And it was the best nothing day I've had in my life. And I'm sure people have those days where they just wake up and they just like, when you can wake up and then you just have a cup of coffee and you're just relaxing or whatever you'd like to drink, water and lemon or whatever, and just sit back and then you just kind of doze off in the sleep and you wake up and you see what else is going on, doze off. And I think that was my day that I needed to get recharged. That was my recharge day, and it was probably one of the best days through the holiday season that I had. And
I think the body kind of knows that, right? That you go all year. You're always sort of like pushing the envelope, up early, working late, all these kinds of things. You got to take all the phone calls. You got to be on. You're Rob Golfi, and so I think in some place your body knows, okay, this is a day that's going to be quiet. It's a safe day for me to sort of shut down.
Absolutely. And if anybody asks me, hey, do you want to do something? I would say, no, I'm staying home and I'm doing nothing, absolutely nothing. And it was like, you know what? I think I need at least probably 3 or 4 of those a year.
Once a quarter.
Once a quarter. And because you know what, like I'm a high energy person. Like I'm always on the go. I'm always on, and like I've got 2 speeds. I got go, or stop. That's it. There's no medium speed. People that know me really well, they know that the energy level that I have, and it's just, I don't know. You know what it is? I think you're born with it. I don't think you can get that's kind of something that you're born with. And and you can't. It's not something you can learn, and it's just something people are just born with the energy level that I have, and then but we do need to shut down once in a while, and you just can't continue to go high speed all the time. So, but otherwise, Happy New Year to you and everybody else, and I wanted to start talking about the stats. But it's crazy. Now I sent the stats to you. Now if you look at Niagara, right, and Niagara is it shows here. So now we're in Niagara Board. We're in the middle of a really crazy thing. because they're changing real estate boards, and they kind of amalgamated with the Toronto Real Estate Board. So the stats got totally construed. Like it's bad. It's terrible. So you could see what I sent you there for Niagara. It's got part of the previous board and part of the regular board, and I'm trying to keep the stats close to what it is. But if you look in 2016, we had a boom, right? Similar to 2021, similar to 2000.
9,000 sales in 2016. That's a big number.
That's right. And then all of a sudden, in 2017, the first quarter ended up getting really busy, and then it after that it slid down, and then now we've had 2 years, right? 2 years of balanced market, and the same thing happened in 2017 and 18. Pretty close to the same numbers. Now, again, the numbers are a little bit messed up because of the changeover in the real estate boards and stuff like that. So in the 90s, in 1989, we had the same thing. A boom in the market. In the first quarter of 1990, it was just insane. And then it was like a light switch went off and it stopped. Now, it took 9 years. The market was flat for 9 years. So if we look at the market from 2016 till 2021, so let's say 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it boomed again. Now we're in a faster market, and because of the speed, more people moving into the country. Mm-hmm. Now I predicted, and I still predict, that 5 years, so we add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I predict 2026 is going to be the next year that we're going to see a rapid increase in real estate. And I think we should mark this. I got my media girl here, Stephanie. Her name's also Stephanie. And we got to mark this. We got to mark this so that I can play this back. And I feel that 2027, the first quarter, it's going to be crazy. So this is playing the markets like playing the stock markets. But I'm telling you, I follow this and I know it. And we are going to have a flat market for probably another year. It's just going to be flat. And people are wondering why, even though interest rates are falling, why is the housing market still sluggish? It's going to be sluggish for a bit. It's going to be sluggish. Like, nobody's going to get more for their house than what it's worth unless you got all the bells and whistles. And there's always a person out there that will pay a little bit more money. Now, for instance, there's a house in Grimsby right now on a great street. I think it's Ross Street or Russ Street. And they're asking a lot of money for it. And it's a great property. I've seen it. I think I would love to have it. But guess what? I don't see the value in it. I don't see what they're asking for it. So obviously other people don't see it. I have a client for it. He wants it. I said, and he said to me, goes, I'll pay this much for it. I go, we can make a run at it, but obviously they're not reducing their price. They're obviously sticking hold to that number, and who knows. But the market's going to be sluggish and flat. To me, this year, you're going to see spikes, you're going to see downs. It's going to be 5% up, 5% down, 5% up, 5% down. And it shows here, that's history. Now in Hamilton, same thing. I pointed it out. In 2016, the market just went crazy. And look at the sales numbers in 2016 and 2021. They jumped significantly. Yep. See that? So there's a 5-year trend. It used to be a 9-year trend. Now it's 5 years because we are in a faster market. Burlington, same thing. Burlington, 2016. Look at the sales numbers and look at things. Now, house prices used to double every 10 years. Now, house prices, I think they'll end up doubling at less than 10 years now. I don't know what the number is. It could be 7 years, 10, 8 years, 6 years. But house prices will double. And the reason why the market's sluggish and it's flat is because we hit the peak. We hit the peak when it comes to pricing. Like these are medium priced houses, benchmark prices, based, it gets rid of all the highs and the lows, and it kind of gives you a really good benchmark mark of what the market is, price is in the area. Now, I do think that, and even my broker even agrees with me. He says he thinks I'm right on the numbers when I'm dealing with it. But yeah, I think we do need a little bit more interest rates down. But because housing is expensive, it's going to be sluggish for a while. I mean, we're going to get more people coming into the market. No doubt, more buyers coming into the market, and I'm going to tell you something about the buyers. That's going to be great. That anybody that buys from us at the Golfi team, but we're going to see more buyers coming in, but it is not going to jump in leaps and bounds when average sale price or benchmark price going up.
Okay, so now that we know that, if the prediction is this is going to be sort of can we call it like a stable year? We've got those interest rates, as you just alluded to. We've had a couple of decreases, and all indications are that perhaps we'll get another one or another few. So there's always opportunity, right, Rob? So who's this year? Who needs to, people are always going to need to buy. They're always going to need to sell, right? So how do we take advantage of this?
This year, everybody's a winner. The seller, if you bought in 2021 and you're selling, guess what? You're not going to sell. They need to hold on to the house for another 3 to 5 years. That's just the way it is. If they need to move, they're going to lose money, and maybe not. They may end up selling at the same price. So, but if you bought prior to 2020, like 2021 or 2020, you're going to do okay. You're going to do very well. Now, and that's fine. The buyers, the great thing for the buyers is that the housing prices are going to float around the same number, and it's going to be great for first-time home buyers this year because they got a lot of incentives for them, and we also have incentives for them. But it's going to be a winner for both, to tell you the truth, because if the seller accepts the fact that their house is worth X amount of dollars and they bought prior to 2020, they're doing well. They built equity. Now, if they bought 2021, obviously not. Now, the buyers, at least they've got breathing room to buy. And you know what? There are some properties that do go into competition and they have to deal with it, but they do have breathing room to buy, and there are some good deals out there as the interest rates are dropping. And the great thing about this, we know interest rates are dropping. They can buy a house today in January, which is a good thing to do because there's good deals, and they can close in 3 months. By that time, there might be another 2 interest rate drops before then, and they'll get those interest rate drop for interest rates when they close on their deal. The other thing that we're offering, and we're putting it together, is the home warranty program. So when you buy a house with us, and we're just putting it all together, is that we will warranty your all your appliances, furnace, air conditioner, and everything, that if anything goes wrong, we will get repairs there done. So the Golfi team is going to have their own home warranty. This is, all the people that are eligible for this are buyers. Nobody else, no other team's doing this. Nobody else has this. This is going to be something that's going to be rolled out in February. And we're looking forward to it. And it's going to be an amazing thing for buyers, because now they know if they buy something, and if something goes wrong with their, stove, hey, no problem. Call the Golfi team. We're going to get a repair guy there to make sure it's fixed. Your refrigerator, you got some plumbing issues, no problem. We will take care of it for you. You buy a house from us, we will warranty everything for you. And it'll be a great thing to do. And but anyway, otherwise, that's what's happening in real estate when it comes to stats and interest rates.
Well, that is an incredible program, Rob. There's certainly no guarantees in life. And I've had a house or two where I really could have used that appliance guarantee, because it's the day that you take ownership of the house that the appliances are supposed to work. But, 3 months later, there's nothing that those sellers owe you. So what an incredible offer that you guys have.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it. All right. Well, you are listening to the Golfi Real Estate Show. I'm Steph Vivier. Rob Golfi is with us today, and we are kicking off the new year with all of the real estate information you need to know. Now, maybe you're not the market, you're happy with your home, that's fine. But Rob has some information really for homeowners on the show today, including could your title be stolen out from under you, and if you are covered for unexpected disasters. So that's all on the way here on News Talk 610 CKTV. Welcome back to the Golfi Real Estate Show. I'm Steph Vivier, and our guest today is Rob Golfi. And Rob, we've just been joined by another guest today, welcoming now to the Golfi Real Estate Show, a sales representative with the Golfi Real Estate team, Samantha Kilborn. Welcome to the show, Samantha.
Thank you. Welcome. Good morning, everyone.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time to join us. Rob, I love when you bring guests on. Why did you want to bring in Samantha today?
Samantha is one of our top agents, and she has a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. And it's nice, to get opinions outside just me. Like it gives a collaboration of what's happening on the street. I go on a lot of appointments myself. I'm not I'm in the trenches just like all the other realtors out there. I'm not just the guy that sits in the office and says things and demands things. I feel it. I'm in it. I know what's going on in the market. I deal with clients, and so that I can give you the real story of what's going on in the marketplace and what the feel is of people that are experiencing in this market. So that's great, and it's always good to get a different perspective from a different agent on our team, and which makes it really, really great.
Yeah, Rob definitely jumps in the trenches and gets his hands dirty. Our sign guy had some car trouble once, and Rob was out there hammering for sale signs and sold signs on our clients' properties, and they looked out the window like, what is that, Rob Golfi?
I know. When people see me out there, they go, they're probably looking at me and say, times are tough, eh, Rob?
And you're wearing a suit, too, right?
Absolutely. I am wearing a suit, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, Samantha, we got a little update from Rob just before you joined us on the stats and how things are going, and he gave us some predictions in terms of what he sees coming next. What are you experiencing out there in the market to start 2025?
It's definitely busy now since Christmas. Like my partner and I, Nick, have been very busy, and it seems like first-time home buyers are really driving the market right now, and that's where you're seeing competition on some of the homes, and you're seeing competition on some of the homes that have been sitting for 2 to 3 months. I did an offer last week for a property in Brantford, and it was on the market for 60 days, and then a second offer came in as soon as we registered. So there's a lot of buyers that are kind of just watching these homes on the sideline and waiting to see if it goes down. And then, if another offer comes in, then they'll spark up and put an offer in to come.
Yeah, I think people do definitely, keep an eye on the houses that they're really interested in. The other thing after the holidays is, a lot of us take that day, January 1st, to write down what do we want to happen this year? And finding a new place might be amongst what people wrote down for themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. You know what? Like we're out of the bad 2.5 year segment for realtors, and it's been tough out there for realtors. And if you've been a realtor, if you just started as a realtor and you're still doing this today, boy, you actually started it's actually a good time for a realtor to start because they experience tough times right out the gate.
Yeah, like realtors that got in during the pandemic, it was crazy, but it was just easy. Like anyone could really sell a house then. Yeah. Now you need a really good sales person, and you need a good team behind you. You have to be a proactive agent now, not a reactive.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons you really want to have someone educated like a Golfi team member is because there's actually some danger in buying a house and not really knowing a lot about it, including real estate fraud. And you say, Rob, that there's some title fraud that's happening that we should know about and learn how to protect ourselves against.
It is. You know what? There's title insurance out there, and I think that came out sometime in the early 90s. Late 90s, somewhere around that time. I have to research it. And I remember when I started as a realtor, there's a couple of title companies out there. One's called First Canadian Title Insurance, and the other one's called Stewart Title Guarantee Company. And what they do is before 1999 or whatever, 2000, every time you purchased a house, and the older generation will remember this, that you had to get a survey. It was like, it's crazy. You had to pay for a $1,500 survey to purchase this house to close on it, because the banks wanted to make sure that you were buying that plot of land, and that was what was needed on title, so that the banks knew that you were buying that property. Now, it was getting too expensive on closing date for a lot of people. So a company from lawyers in Hamilton created a company called First Canadian Title Insurance, right from here in Ontario, Hamilton, Ontario. And what they did is they built this company, and they started it. Now it's a huge company across Canada. And what it is back then, I think it was about $200 or $300, and you buy this insurance, and they guarantee that if there's any title problems, you're insured. And like, for instance, let's say, there was an easement on the property. Let's say there's an encroachment. Let's say there was there was one incident in Beamsville. There was an oil tank buried on the front lawn underneath, and like a big, large oil tank. And yes. So I don't think they covered that anymore. That kind of stuff anymore. They got nailed pretty hard on that one. That was a $250,000 insurance claim. And they would cover that because, I mean, maybe that was a gas station at one time in the early 1900s, and then there was a house there, and nobody said anything, and anyway, so titles insurance covered that. Titles insurance, and there's another story where a guy bought a house, and there was a driveway beside the house, and everybody thought that driveway belonged to the house. It didn't. It belonged to the other guy. So what happened was titles insurance. So everybody assumed that driveway belonged to the house. So anyway, titles insurance, they actually went to the guy and say, hey, we'd like to how do we deal with this? So they bought the plot of land. They bought that land for that person that bought the house. Sometimes people put mortgages on your house. You got to be careful. Now, this is important. Titles insurance, even though there's a lot of baby boomers out there that bought their house in the 70s, 80s, and whatever, and they still live in them. You don't have titles insurance. Your house is paid for. Somebody can put a mortgage on your house, and you don't even know it. And that's how fraud is now. And fraud is even worse than ever before because of technology is becoming sharper and out there. But if you're a senior and you own a house outright, there's a high probability you don't have titles insurance. You should get it because somebody can put something on your property, you don't know it, and then all of a sudden you wake up one morning and the bank's calling you and say, hey, you got a $600,000 mortgage on your house and you've missed the last 3 payments. Well, guess what? Can't do nothing about it. Somebody did it. You're not insured. You're gonna have to pay for that mortgage, and otherwise you're gonna lose your house. And that is the reality of our world right now. And I almost had an incident that I was being fraudulent. There was an email sent to me from a company that we do business with, a lot of business with, and it was a very large check. I get an email from them, and they said, hey, we're not going to be doing the credit card payment anymore because they're an American company. And for some reason, we prefer to get a check. We opened up a company in Canada, and it's in Saskatchewan or Manitoba someplace. And the name of the company we opened up is a different name. I said, okay. It came from their email that I deal with all the time.
Right.
Wow.
It came from them. So I said, okay, no problem. I go, bummer, okay. So, and I wrote the check, sent it, and then my bank calls me. The bank the TD Bank calls me in Manitoba, I think it was, and they said, hey, did you write a check for this amount of money? I go, yeah, no problem. Go ahead. And they go, okay. But they investigated again. The person that was cashing this check doesn't normally get checks this large.
Oh, wow.
So the banks are being cautious. So the bank called my business banker, and they said, no, don't put that check through. That's fraud. We guarantee it's fraud. So I called the company that I do business with, and they said, no, we don't have a company called like that. I said, guess what? They were being fraudulent. Somebody tapped in, broke into their email system. I says, who else is doing this? And they actually knew everything, how we were communicating. They were watching and watching it. And they said, and they knew what to say to me on email and everything else like that. And it was, so you have to be very careful. So after that incident, I almost lost $70,000, and thank God I didn't. after that, I did get insurance for, they call it, fraud, internet, whatever it is.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Insurance. So I had my insurance broker. I called him up, and I would have been insured for that if I had insurance at the time. But now I do have it. So if somebody comes and clears out my bank account, I'm insured for it. And so titles insurance is mandatory. Anybody getting a mortgage. Now, if you're paying cash for the house, most lawyers will say you should get it. So every house that's been purchased probably in the last 20 years has had titles insurance, unless somebody says, no, I don't want it, this and that. I'm telling you, you'd be surprised of the fraud out there. And another incident was one of my first houses I bought was when I was in my 20s. A guy bought this house off me privately, and I don't know what happened. He scammed somebody. I get calls from, I think it was the RCMP, and saying, do you know this guy? I go, no, yeah, he bought the house for me and everything. This is like months later after I sold it. And he goes, yeah, he told me he had another house out on another street, this and that. He goes, do you know which house that is? And I go, I don't know. Like, I think, I was just, I mean, I didn't care. I got my money. I didn't care. But this guy somehow fraudulently did something fraud. And that's back then. There was no insurance. There was nothing going on. I don't know what happened. I think he defrauded the banks or something like that. And but you have to be careful. Fraud's out there all the time, and it's going to be more, especially with AI out there, artificial intelligence, because people can copy my voice. And I literally, like, you know what I mean? We saw that, right? Yeah. Right, Samantha? Like, we had a seminar, and my voice was being talking, and it wasn't me talking.
Yeah, so, it overplayed on a video, and it wasn't Rob that did it. It's crazy. I've heard of stories that people have got phone calls and, from supposedly their kids, but it's not. And getting them in trouble, meet me here, I need you right now. And,
you heard those stories. The grandchild calls the grandmother, I need money, and they think it's them. Well, there's going to be a lot more of those, especially with the artificial intelligence out there. So be very, very careful. Always verify. Buy the insurance. If you don't have titles insurance, get it. If you bought your house in the last 20, 25 years, there's a high probability you do have it. But if you bought in the last 40, 50 years, I would seriously look into it. The insurance is, I'm not sure, I think $500 to $800. And then you're covered. You don't have to worry about it. It just takes that one time. Nobody can put a mortgage on your house. Nobody can do anything. And it covers a lot of different things, that titles insurance. And it's insane. But definitely look into titles insurance. And if you want to know the different companies, again, First Canadian Title Insurance and Stewart Title Guarantee Company is out there. Just Google Titles Insurance Canada and you'll find it. I'm not here to promote them, but what I'm saying is, I believe in insurance, like life insurance, car insurance, house insurance, all that kind of stuff. We pay so much money in insurance, and now I'm adding you to another one of the list. But believe me, you have to protect yourself, especially with the technology age that we're in.
Yeah, especially with your biggest investment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your home, right? And so, Rob, we should just, everyone's got a broker, right? Like, you don't have to remember those. You just call your broker and they can help you with that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, every real estate office will know what titles insurance is.
Okay. And that's often something people have to get anyway, but always worth checking into. Well, thank you for that. We're also going to get into, the stuff that's happening in California. It's devastating to watch people's, losing their homes. And we're getting, reports of celebrities losing their homes. And sometimes people don't have the most sympathy for celebrities, but, anyone losing their home is so devastating. And there's so many more people who aren't celebrities or people of note who are losing their homes in the California wildfires. So it makes a good question, which you brought to us today, Rob, which is, are you covered for unexpected disasters? So we'll talk about more about that coming up next. You are listening to the Golfi Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Steph Vivier. Rob Golfi is with us as well, and sales representative with the Rob Golfi Real Estate team, Samantha Kilbourne. We'll be back after this here on News Talk 610 CKTV. Welcome back to the Golfi Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Steph Vivier. Rob Golfi is here, as well as sales representative with the Golfi team, Samantha Kilbourne. And Rob and Samantha, you guys are bringing us great information, not only if you're wanting to get into the real estate market, but also for us current homeowners. And we've all been watching with broken hearts the devastating wildfires that are happening in Southern California right now. And more these weather events, these unexpected weather events are happening. And it does make us wonder if we're covered for unexpected disasters. Rob, this is probably something you talk to your clients a lot about.
It is. So the one thing is you have to be careful when you're putting an offer in on a house, because especially if you're near water, if you're near, there's like wetlands or whatever, because insurance companies have different areas flagged, whether they're going to insure it or not, or if it's going to be high premiums. And people don't know this. They just think, people just go in and they just put their offer in and they buy the house, and they should call the insurance company and say, listen, I'm purchasing a house on so-and-so street. What's the, what do you insurance companies have this area flagged as?
There's actually a condition that buyers can put in to get insurance, and then make the offer conditional on getting insurance, so they know.
It's very important. So the one thing is, so like these California fires, right? And now there's a lot of wooded areas, forestry, and everything else like that. Now, I was talking to an insurance guy, and he said what they'll do is they'll go in, insurance companies will go in and debrief, and they'll check to see what caused this fire. Now, if it was a person that caused it, or was it something that was natural, like it just, the heat or whatever, they will debrief it, and they'll say, okay, how can this be prevented the next time? Now, if the government doesn't do anything, well, guess what? The insurance companies are going to say, we're not going to insure for fire in this area, or you're going to have to pay a lot more money for insurance. And it's the same thing. Like I know, like I was telling this story maybe a couple last year, is that there was a guy that owns a property in like across the street from them is the Niagara River, and he's been flooded twice in 10 years. Well, he can't get flood insurance anymore. He's insured. He's insured for a fire. He's insured for breaking and entering. He's insured for everything but flood. So now it's happened twice, and the insurance company says if you want it, you're going to pay a lot more money for it. And so you have to know that. You can't just buy a house and not know what the insurance is going to be on it. Now, there's one insurance that nobody has. They may have it. Very few people have this, that nobody's insured for, because we don't really get natural disasters that happen in Ontario. Okay? Yeah. But there is one insurance. What do you think is not covered on everybody's policy? I mean, we're covered for like if there's a hurricane, we're covered for tornadoes, we're covered for ice and hail, we're covered for, flooding. It depends. Like flooding from coming in from outside in. Yeah. You may not be covered for that. So you got to be careful for that. That's one. But what do you think we're not covered for? You guys are stumped.
I don't know.
Stumped. So earthquakes. We are not covered for earthquakes. Now, we've had earthquakes in the past 50 years, very minor earthquakes, okay? And but the one thing is, if we have an earthquake and the devastations like the ones that you see in San Francisco, everybody's doomed, and the government will have to kick in. But you think you're going to get 100% of your money to rebuild? They're just going to give you maybe 25 cents to 50 cents on the dollar to rebuild. So a lot of people will have to, either rebuild, and slowly governments will give grants to build, and you'll mortgage and you'll the government money to rebuild. So I was talking to my insurance broker, and he said, for a $2,000 policy, if you want earthquake insurance, it's $400 extra. So you're paying $2,400. So that's the one thing we're not insured of. I guarantee you I don't have that, and I think most people don't. Like we haven't had like earthquakes here are very, very minor, and there's probably been who knows how many in the past 50 years, and it's not enough to pay for it. But we could have one major devastated earthquake, and we're in serious trouble. Very serious trouble. So, but the one thing is, definitely check for disasters. Like there's like in California, a lot of people aren't insured for it, especially if they live, because we hear about a lot of fires in California, don't we?
Yep.
So
it's pretty common.
and Fort McMurray had fires. Remember, and I think they had the second one just not too long ago. Remember the big devastation they Fort McMurray in Alberta. Now they had a major one. Everybody had to evacuate, and a lot of people lost their houses. Now I don't know what the scenario there was. But I guarantee you, after that fire, insurance company went in. You probably had to pay more money for insurance for fire insurance. And guess what? They just had one in the last 2-3 years. Another fire that happened. So now the insurance companies are going to put the premiums up more because of it. So if you want to live in the middle of the forest,
and then down in the U.S. and the South, a lot of insurance companies are folding because they can't afford all the claims down there.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot for sure. With the climate change, that's what's going to happen. But these are all great conversations that, you mentioned before, Rob, that when you're buying a house, like maybe get that insurance quote before you finalize. And as you pointed out, Samantha, you could make that a condition because, okay, maybe this is your dream home and you figured out, okay, I can afford this, but like, what are the premiums going to be? Because that's an additional expense, obviously.
It is. And I remember Wayne Gretzky, he lived in an earthquake zone. And his insurance for earthquake was really expensive. Obviously, he's very wealthy. He can afford to pay it. But a lot of people, may not want to pay that. Like, can you imagine just paying an additional $20,000 a year for earthquake insurance?
Yeah.
Like it's expensive, or you know what I mean? Like it's not cheap. So you either move out of the area, or if you're super rich, you can afford it, and you can afford to have your house tumbled down every 10 years and rebuilt. I guess why not? I don't know. I mean, everything's on the cloud now. You got all your family pictures on the cloud, so it doesn't matter if your house gets all destroyed with the pictures. I mean, if you got the insurance to cover it, that's fantastic. But definitely you should get checked out. Make sure you've got the right insurance for your house, because the cheaper insurance may mean cheaper return when you have a problem. So you got to be very, very careful for that. There's yes, you pay a little more, but guess what? Less hassles. And over my lifetime, I've had a house burned down. One of my tenants, I guess he fell asleep and he had a grease fire and he burned my house down. And so anyway, I got it. So the insurance company came in, rebuilt the house, no problem. I had no headaches. I had the right insurance. It all covered. Guess what? His insurance had to pay for it because he had tenant insurance. And because it was his fault, it wasn't a claim against me. Because if you do have a fire, I'll tell you, your insurance company will cancel your policy 6 months after that fire. Just, they'll pay the claim out. That's it. But we don't want you as a client anymore. And guess what? It's like a driving record. It's on your record. Every insurance company will look you up, and they'll see that you had a claim for fire, and you're going to pay a higher premium.
That follows the person, not the property, right?
It follows
the person on the claim.
It follows the person. It follows the person, not the property. It follows the person.
All right. Well, let's change gears a little bit here. And for the first time in history, millennials have overtaken baby boomers on debt. I guess this is inevitable, though, because they are the ones who are spending the cash right now.
They are. It's a huge population. So the middle generation now holds 38% of all Canadian debt. And millennials hold the most debt at $911 billion, and about 38% of those of all Canadian debt. Millennials are now the largest debt holders in Canada, overtaking baby boomers for the first time, says a quarterly study out today. Now, of course, the baby boomers got their houses paid for now. So TransUnion Consumer Pulse for the fourth quarter of 2024 shows this group, aged 29 to 44. Well, those millennials are getting older.
It's happening, Rob.
Are you a millennial? You're a millennial, aren't you?
I am. I'm an elder millennial, as they call them.
Oh, my God. That's nice to be a millennial. I wish I was a millennial right now, if I can buy back some years. So anyway, age 29 to 44 hold 27% of the credit accounts, the largest share of consumers by age group in Canada credit market. Now, millennials also hold the most debt. We got that now, but it says the study finds is that 26% of Canadians say they expect not to be able to pay at least one of their current bills and loans in full. Wow. See that? It's tough out there. It's tough. But that rate rises to 35% among millennials, the highest rate of age group. The Bank of Canada has cut its interest rates from 5 to 3.25% since last June, easing the pressure on indebted consumers. But the study shows that Canadians continue to feel the pinch on their personal finances. Yes, everybody's going through things. Everything's expensive. Now, while economic indicators show that the consumers are likely to enjoy some relief from their financial pressures in 2025, many are still navigating the challenges caused by the highest interest rates since 2001. We recently experienced, said Matthew Fabian, Director of Financial Services Research and Consulting in TransUnion Canada, despite the 22% say that they intend to take on more debt or refinance in the coming year, a sign that some Canadians are turning to credit to make ends meet. It's true.
It is true. I go to home evaluations all the time, and you see what they've bought the house, say $130,000, 20 years ago, and now they owe $380,000. And
yeah, a lot of people
on stuff.
Yeah, a lot of years ago, a lot of elderly people, they never remortgaged their house. They just paid it off as fast as they can, and to them, it's taboo to remortgage their house. But meanwhile,
sometimes it's smart to remortgage if you're going to reinvest the money and use it smartly, but not just for debt, cars, and living this Instagram life.
Absolutely, and a lot of millennials, I mean, they do remortgage. I get it. They got to catch up, pay their bills, and everything. It's the only way for them to get ahead, and it is tough. But that's what's so the millennials have taken over now, and then now the next generation is Gen Zs. They're 13 to 28 years old. Right now, and they're the ones that are just graduating high school right now. Boy, they're in for a surprise.
University.
Yeah, they're in for a surprise.
Yeah, do you get many Gen Zs coming into the housing market working with the Golfi team?
You know what? If the parents are very, they've got some good money up behind them, and they really want their kids to get ahead in life, and they want to support them and go ahead, and if their kids are anxious to buy real estate, you're going to see them buying.
Yeah, that's where you pull out equity on your home, and that's smart equity to help your kids out with a down payment or buying a second investment property. When it's a good time to buy right now, you buy, if you're looking to downsize in a couple of years, buy a second property with your equity and rent it out until you're moving in it.
Yeah, rent it to your kid until they're able to, do like a rent to own with them.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's a lot of that. A lot of wealthier parents are helping their kids out because they know it's going to be a tough go if they try to do it on their own. And it's sad for the other kids that don't have the help and the means to do it. They may have to wait 10 years before they buy a house, but in 10 years house prices double, so it makes it even tougher.
I've had the convo with a lot of parents on taking out the equity on their home, and like you said, Rob, years ago it was get the house, get the mortgage paid off, and no debt, but they don't understand some debt is healthy debt, and it's okay. Yeah. But they just don't want to see any debts on their bank statements.
Nobody wants debts, that's for sure.
No, we don't want them, but it's a necessary evil, and you can't take this stuff with you anyway. All right, we're getting into the new year here. Samantha, I imagine you're busy and ready to take phone calls with the Golfi team.
We're ready to go.
Yeah, it started already. The phones are picked up, and things are starting to click. Happening, and we expect a decent year. We expect that we will surpass last year and the year before numbers, and plus, we're always trying to improve our services.
Incredible. Well, with that new home warranty program, you're definitely doing that. If you want to find out more about all that the Golfi team has to offer, give them a call at 905-641-0308. Always online as well at robgolfi.com. Rob, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you so much, Samantha.
Thank you. It was great.
Okay, come back again soon. This has been The Golfi Show, and I'm your host, Vivier. Stick around. There's more coming here on News Talk 610 CKTV.